Have you lost control of your MPs, Prime Minister?
Right, people. It is time, it's just gone 10. Grab a brew when you hear Big Ben. God, I can't believe I went there. Yeah, it's the Brews at 10 on my left eye. I'm your host, Lefty. You're all very welcome here this evening. Short bit of poetry there. Did you catch that opening clip as well? Just one sec. Resize it. Just bear with me.
Have you lost
The timing is just amazing. Just one more time. It's almost planned, rehearsed, scripted in the timing.
Have you lost control of your MPs, Prime Minister?
Well, he's definitely lost control of his footing. How are we all this Wednesday Eve? How are we brewing? It being a Wednesday, of course, Keith returns after a couple of weeks off from PMQs. That's the main bulk of tonight's live stream. And of course, Keith's Catchphrases returns. And there's definitely going to be potential changes there. I'll get into that a bit more later on. First of all, please make sure you've hit thumbs up on the stream. It does help on the algorithm. Excuse me. Yeah, helps to get the channel out there, so thanks a lot for that, everybody. Let's see who are the early starters in the chat as we just get warmed up. Davinia was in first. Good evening to you. Doc Davies is in the house. Nicola Curtin, great to see you as well. Good to see that everybody's names are still reverted, still as normal. What's going to happen next? Is it going to start putting up people's phone numbers instead of usernames? Perhaps if YouTube's are nice, I'll let them hire my crack expert team of primate engineers and IT experts. For example, when I do have the technical difficulties and you see one example from the team, that primate there. Colin is his name. He is in fact a systems analyst, and a very successful one at that. But if anyone says I'm not dedicated to the channel, do you know how long it takes to chain monkeys to do IT? Right, what else can you do to help boost the channel? Yes, you can also give us a share around social media. Give us a follow while you're there at MyLeftI UK. Preferably on Blue Sky if you're on there. We've kind of moved over there. Still on Twitter, still active on Twitter as well, and Mastodon, which is another developing alternative to Twitter. Always Twitter, never X. And Idiosyncrasies join us as well, and Graham Turner. How do you do, Solidari-Tea? Just getting warmed up here. I just want to see that clip again, actually. That's...
Have you lost control of your MPs, Prime Minister?
Very good. You ever forget there's a step outside your front door when you're putting on your biggest shit-eating grin? Too busy concentrating on looking like he's got a sideways coat hanger stuck in his mouth. Davinia, no, there's no Discord on the channel yet. That could potentially be coming up though. It would just be another inbox for me to have to tend to outside of the channel, and my protests, etc., and everything else. Yeah, I'm pretty much at full capacity for that. But yeah, it's good for getting people involved and creating a space, little community, in fact. So it could be in the pipe works. I've just not really had the time to get around it to doing that. I've not tried Kick, Nicola. No. Actually, when I do the tech upgrade, which is pending, then I could be simultaneously streaming on Twitch as well. There is a Twitch account for the channel. There's no content or streams on there. Okay, I'll get through a few other formalities on the channel. Big shout out to all the members. This is another really important part of the community here on My Left Eye. So you can join this list of people, it's just 99 pence. Marvellous members. Check out the perks. Currently staying over that 100 target, so thanks a lot for that everybody, as well as renewing your memberships and gifting to others as well. Issue with the broadcast. We've got some buffering here. Are we back? We were buffering for a moment there. What does YouTube Studio say? Phil, put the monkeys on standby. We might need them. I think we're back on now. I think we're fully connected. That was a YouTube Studio issue, I think. I think it was a broadcast software, just for some reason had a bit of a wobble. But good time to be back, because I think we've just had a raid as well from the awesome Mr. Kevin Logan. Ploppy Pants 111. So welcome to everybody who's joined us over from Kevin Logan. I'm sure most or all of the people watching this stream will be familiar with Kev at the moment, but if not, do go and check him out. He's on YouTube. It's great live streams, almost daily, I think. Solidarity with Kev. So, for those of you just joining us from Kevin Logan, if you don't know us already, this is My Left Eye, all about politics and sociology. From a left-leaning point of view, of course. Just about to get going with PMQs and a little game that we play along called Keith's Catchphrases. And then later in the stream, obviously, another big news story of the day. Palestine Action have been proscribed as a terrorist organisation. It's another affront to justice and democracy in this country, and another example of our rights being eroded away right in front of our eyes. So, more on my 2 cents about that. As well as more of this current doxing of Bob Villain from the knee-jerk hyperbolic reactionists. So yeah, please do hit thumbs up on the stream if you just joined us from Kev's channel. Kev, if you are watching right now, thank you very much for the raid, do appreciate that. Once again, make sure that you go over and subscribe to Kev's page if you don't do so already. Yeah, this the Bob Villain thing's getting out of hand. The Palestine Action, the pushback against protest in general, is getting out of hand. These are all topics that I'm particularly passionate about, so I'll get the rant alert out there straight away. Morbius, great to see you in the chat, and Graham Turner as well. just going to crack on into PMQs in one quick moment. I need to get you up on the screen first, don't I? Right, there we go, I can see everybody now. Yeah, just a reminder, we're still over that membership goal at the moment. Solidari-Tea for that, members. Right, we'll crack on with Keith's catchphrases. Sorry to end the music abruptly there, instead of fading out. But let's get cracking.
We now come to Prime Minister's questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Deliver. Black hole.
Plan for change.
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 Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So yes, here we are, once again. I will bring the background music in now. There's a few examples of former contenders. I'll just quickly go through the rules if anybody's not familiar with the game. We're simply set to words against one another during the session, but there are some rules, there are some caveats. The rules, rule number 1, the words or phrases have to be spoken by Keir Starmer himself. Phrase number 2, any phrase that suffers 2 successive losses has to bow out, and then another contender is selected. And finally, variations on the words are allowed, including, past and present tenses, etc., pluralisation. So the current contenders are security. The word security has come up a lot. Not too sure about this week, but we'll see. And deal is the other contender. Now, I should point out the last couple of PMQs, or deputy PMQs in fact, that we've had have resulted in unprecedented 0-0 draws. Never had a double 0-0 draw, so really do want a winner this week. And pretty much, if it's a draw again, then I'll just select 2 different contenders. As we'll keep score just on the left of your screens, which you'll see in a moment. And anytime you hear one of the phrases, you'll hear this noise. So that's just about it. Everybody's savvy. Sweet. So this is, as usual, a first time watch for me. Word has reached my left eye and my ear as well. It's almost inescapable, to be honest. I've heard about Rachel Reeves getting upset during the session, which has been pointed out happened pretty much from the beginning, so we'll see what's happening about that, and I'll give you my thoughts on it when we get to it as well. So yeah, I heard that come up when I was listening to the news earlier, but other than that, I don't know what's going to be happening. I'm certain there's going to be further mention of yesterday's vote. That's on the welfare reform. PMQs will have taken place before the Palestine Action prescription vote, so I'm not sure if that will come up as much. Right, people, let's see what's happening now. We're good to go. I think we are. So let's bring up Lindsay.
Now come to Prime Minister's questions. Paul Ward.
Question number one, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Here, they've all just started in the shouting "here, here" when he said question number one, which is just like routine. A random MP will say, you know, question number one, of course, and then probably earlier that morning, you know, we've got an interesting day coming up at work, dear. Oh yes, it's my turn to stand up and say question number one at PMQs. I've been waiting my whole life for this. But why are they all, like, cheering when that is literally all that's happened?
This Saturday.
Okay.
What's going on?
There seems to be a bit of a challenge on who can cheer the most. I've never known one Prime Minister get as much cheering. Come on, Prime Minister.
I think they were cheering more, Mr. Speaker. Quite right, too. This Saturday marks the 77th birthday.
She's okay. I've just quick look at Reeves. She's sort of smiling there at the moment.
Of our National Health Service. And I want to begin by thanking our dedicated NHS staff for their service. And in that 77th year, I'm proud that this Labour government has delivered 4 million extra appointments, 1,700 more GPs, and the lowest waiting list for 2 years. Mr. Speaker,
Just to quickly explain again, a former contestant on the Catchphrases game was Deliver, a long-running champion as well, so I'm still sort of reactive to the word when I'm doing this, or any other time, to be honest.
the Labour Party is proud to have been the party that created the NHS, and tomorrow we're announcing our 10-year health plan to build an NHS fit for the future, so that in many years and decades to come, we can still proudly celebrate the anniversary of the NHS.
There it is again.
Mr. Speaker, may I also wish England and Wales the best of luck in the Women's Euros. And, of course, congratulate England's under-21s on retaining the Euros. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Sausages.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When this Labour government extended free school meals to 500,000 more children last month, Laura, a working mum in Rochdale, told me it would save her £500 a year. She said, "I'm over the moon, only Labour would have done this." Does the Prime Minister agree with me that people...
No, that didn't happen.
Voted Labour a year ago, not just for change, but for hope, and that cutting child poverty is the moral mission of this government to help every child in this country.
Mr. Speaker, I'm really proud that we extended free school meals for another 500,000 children, including Laura's. And it's people like Laura that we have in our mind's eye, and giving children the best start in life. And I know I think the Child Poverty Task Force visited Rochdale recently and will continue to back parents like Laura. But, Mr. Speaker...
That was Rochdale, not Richdale, just to be very clear.
We've already started not just free school meals being rolled out, free breakfast clubs, extending childcare. That's real change under this Labour government.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Change is a former contender as well.
Mr. Speaker, can I first of all take this opportunity to congratulate the member for Rochdale for being the toady of the week, helping the Prime Minister. We all know...
Come on, Hoyle, sort this out.
It's
Can you sort this rubble out, you useless tit?
There's a lot of people wanting to catch my eye today. There is some free hits on this side. I won't waste your opportunity.
It's been a difficult week for the Prime Minister. So let's start with something simple. Can the Prime Minister tell the House how much his welfare bill is going to save?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by saying free school matters on this.
Before he just deflects away from the question, put simply, it won't save anything now. It will actually cost a bit more. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The absolute shambles and farce that happened yesterday in the House of Commons ended up almost flipping the entire thing round. I think, was it Ian Lavery? We heard mention it's going to end up sort of 2 pages long by the end of it, so it should be withdrawn, which it should have been.
Side of the House. Mr. Speaker, in relation to, well...
It's going to cost like single-digit billions. And that's it.
What we delivered last night was a bill which ends mandatory reassessment of those with severe disabilities. That is the right thing to do. It rebalances universal credit. That is long overdue, and it sets out a pathway to reform of PIP. Mr. Speaker, it's consistent with the principles I set out throughout. If you can work, you should work. If you need help into work, the state should provide the help. The system that they broke doesn't do so. And if you can't work...
I think there's one or two I can spot immediately. Usual voices, same names, please. It's too early to leave the chamber. Prime Minister.
And Mr. Speaker...
Sounds like the headmaster. Well, it's always the same faces, isn't it? Always the same faces. Right, who started it? That wasn't actually my best Hoyle impression, though, to be honest. You know.
If you can't work, you must be supported and protected. The reformed welfare system that we're putting in place will be better for individuals, better for the taxpayer, and better for the economy.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think the Prime Minister actually watched what happened in the House yesterday. His bill was completely gutted. A U-turn in the middle of the debate, removing Clause 5. Where on earth was he? The reason why he can't answer the question is because he knows it doesn't save any money. It's going to cost millions. This is the first Prime Minister.
It turns out Kemi Badenoch can shoot fish in a barrel.
Which costs money. So if the bill doesn't cut welfare spending, can the Prime Minister tell the House how many people it will get into work?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad she asked that because it gives me the opportunity to say we've already started changing the job.
As much as it pains me to do so, Kemi's quite right there. I've been thinking, let's say 12 months after the legislation comes in, after the reforms, I should say, come into effect, I won't be surprised if the employment rate's actually going down instead of up, and if within former PIP claimants within that sector, it's going to show that all it has done is put further austerity on vulnerable people as opposed to get people into work. And even Kemi Badenoch, who could fuck up a cup of coffee, can't miss that open goal.
Centres and investing in support back into work. The Trailblazer scheme, which is doing exactly what she asked me, which is getting people back into work. The bill last night will help people back into work, and of course the Timms review is ongoing. But I tell you what won't help people back into work, what won't help control the costs, and that is voting to keep the broken system. And that is what they did last night. Everybody in this House accepts that the current system is broken. It invites the question, who broke it? They broke it. And last night, they voted for the status quo. The broken system is their policy. That won't help individuals, taxpayer, and it certainly won't help the economy.
Well, I think, you know, if you take a few steps further back, from that on a macro scale, and you look at who is going to pay for any kind of reform that happens, I think that's a lot more important. And again, it's vulnerable people and not the rich. So in terms of carrying on something that doesn't work, that is all that Starmer's doing, which is why he's not going to get the results and why he had the massive rebellion yesterday. Just if it had gone 40 the other way, it would have been his first defeat.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell him what we did on welfare. Yes, they can laugh. While they're laughing, they don't know my party delivered the biggest reform of welfare in government. We got record numbers of people into work, including millions of disabled people, and we cut the deficit every year until COVID.
They changed the definition of work. So, for example, they counted people who were doing a few hours a week, probably on crappy 0 hours contracts, as being in full-time work, and cook the books.
Fact is, we're not scared of doing difficult things on this side of the House. We got people back into work. What he forgets is that since the election, since he became Prime Minister, an additional 1,000 people a day are signing on to incapacity benefits. That is 50% more than under us. 50% more than under us. And Mr. Speaker, astonishingly, because of the mess they made yesterday, because there are no more savings, sickness benefits alone are set to rise to £100 billion on his watch. He cannot reduce that now.
Order. Mr. McKee, I think we've had a run-in before. I certainly don't want any more. Seriously. You're obviously not getting your timing right, because I can hear your voice every time.
He's actually doing... I mean, I'm not congratulating him or anything. You normally barely hear a whisper from this man, who sounds like he has a wet flannel in his mouth when he tries to speak with any authority. But this is, what, the third time he's interjected, which is quite rare. And just while I'm on the topic of oil for a second, the apparent official reason for Rachel Reeves getting upset, which I'll keep an eye on, was that she had some sort of, quote, altercation prior to PMQs with Lindsay Hoyle. But just from what I know about it already, I've seen a picture of it. I don't know if it was photoshopped or anything. But if she can sit there stony-faced while she hears stories from MPs about the plight of the needy in this country, and children suffering, people going hungry, the elderly, suffering under austerity and not even blink, then I really can't imagine a sort of run-in with this absolute drip could really break her spirits. So at the moment, the only thing I can think of, if that is true, if the official explanation is true and it's not just spin, then it could be because Hoyle informed her that he just found out that she's going to be getting the sack in the near future. Perhaps. I'm just speculating there, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that opening theory. And it looks like he's tossing a frisbee there, doesn't he? All right, then. Take it away, Lindsay. Yeah, no, you want to stop that? The cup of tea.
I'll start again, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Start again. Sickness benefits, louder for those at the back, sickness benefits are set to rise to £100 billion because of their mess. They cannot now reduce it. They can't reduce it because after last night's humiliating U-turn, we know he cannot control his MPs. They're cheering now, but you signed the amendment. You signed the amendment. Over 100 people signed that reasoned amendment until the bill was completely gutted. He said that he would take the difficult decisions, but isn't the reality that he is too weak to get anything done?
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell them what they did to the welfare system. They broke.
Even Kemi Badenoch, who I have no respect for, to be honest, even Kemi Badenoch can't miss these opportunities. All Labour have done now, and this is what's led to a minus 54% approval or favourability rating for Keir Starmer. Personally, by far and away, a record. She can't miss. She can't miss, and this is the corner that they've packed themselves into now within just a year. Within just a year. And normally they do the good stuff first to keep favourability, and then further in it gets worse and worse and worse. No, but they've hit the ground running with austerity, and this is the way it's turned out.
Broke it. They broke it. And it's the same as the NHS. What did they do? They broke it. Same as the economy. What did they do? They broke it. They broke everything that they touched. And now she describes the broken system that we are trying to fix. What did she do? She voted against fixing the system that they broke. And I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, and spell that out, they voted last night for the system that is keeping 1 million young people not learning or earning. That is a disgrace of their system. They voted for a system where we have 3 million people out of work on ill health, and they voted for that system. We're fixing it. We're clearing up the mess that they left, just like we're clearing up the NHS and the economy.
He's got some brass neck. Has he read the papers this morning? Has he read the papers this morning? That bill will achieve nothing. It is a pointless waste of time and is absolute proof that he doesn't have a plan. Let me tell the House what's going to happen. In November, the Chancellor is going to put up our taxes to pay for his incompetence. We on this side of the House know that you can't tax...
It's not going to put your taxes up because you're rich.
...your way to growth. But people out there are frightened. People out there... Yes. These are the same people who cheered when they talked about the NI rise and the jobs tax. Why are they complaining now? People out there are frightened. Can he, Mr. Speaker, can he reassure them by ruling out tax rises in the autumn budget?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker.
14 years of Tory. Labour imitate, copy, perpetuate Tory. Former government Tories accuse them of the very things that they did for 14 years, and then the cycle continues. That's it. Of course, it's totally immoral when they're not in government, when they're in opposition. But when they're in government, they fork up the same excuses that Starmer uses, and round the wheel goes. I noticed Diane Abbott particularly keen to get the Speaker's attention to speak there.
She knows that no Prime Minister or Chancellor ever stands at the dispatch box and writes budgets in the future. That isn't what they did, it isn't what we did. And she knows it. But she talks about growth. For 14 years,
okay,
we had stagnant...
It's not the usual stony face, though, is it? It's quite a forced smile, apparently. Oh, look. Keir Starmer's a DJ. Where I've freeze-framed it. This next beat's called Free the Sausages.
And that is what caused the problems. And I'm really pleased, Mr. Speaker, to show the progress that we're making. I can update the House. Last week, Amazon put in £40 billion of investment into this country.
How much tax did they pay? How much tax did they pay? They pay fuck all. They pay fuck all tax. They rip off the fucking staff. They put them under duress and stress. They don't pay the fucking taxes. They're one of the world's biggest polluting companies. And if the sentiment, if the rhetoric is that if you tax these people, then they're going to go elsewhere, then fine. Why would you want wealth-hoarding, non-tax-paying companies in your country? They're not contributing to your capitalist economy. So it doesn't even make any logic from a capitalist POV anyway.
On the biggest investments of its time. That brought the inward investment to £120 billion in the first year of this Labour government. Mr. Speaker, I can also tell the House that business confidence is the highest for 9 years. That's longer than the whole time that the leading opposition's been in Parliament. And the figures this week demonstrated and showed we had the fastest growth in the G7 in the first quarter of this year. What a difference to the mess they left. That's the difference a Labour government made.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about jobs. Unemployment has risen every month since Labour took office. Has he spoken to Nissan, by the way, and looked at what's happening there? This man has forgotten that his welfare bill was there to plug a black hole created by the Chancellor. Instead, they're creating new ones. They're creating new ones. She looks... Mr. Speaker, she's pointing at me. She looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, yeah, she looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, they can point as much as they like. The fact is, Labour MPs are going on the record saying that the Chancellor is toast, and the reality.
I'm not a fan of Rachel Reeves, but I don't know if she's started crying there, or she noticed, but.
That she is a human shield for his incompetence. In January, he said that she would be in post till the next election. Will she really?
Prime Minister. She certainly won't. Mr. Speaker, I have to say I'm always cheered up when she asks me questions or responds to a statement, because she always makes a complete mess of it and shows just how unserious.
I think she's gone there. Oh, she's going.
And irrelevant they are. But she talks about the black hole. They left a £22 billion black hole in our economy, and we're clearing it up. And I'm really proud, Mr. Speaker, that in the first year of a Labour government we got free school meals, breakfast clubs, childcare, got £15 billion invested in transport in the North and the Midlands. We're cutting regulation, planning and infrastructure is pounding forward, building 1.5 million homes, the biggest investment in social and affordable housing, and of course, Mr. Speaker, the 3 trade deals. Remember the ones that they couldn't get, including the US trade deal. On Monday, those tariffs came down. That secured the jobs at JLR.
Finally.
That's who we care about on this side of the House.
Keith Edmonds has saved us.
How awful for the Chancellor that he couldn't confirm that she would stay in place. Yeah. He talks about this year in office. This week marks the first anniversary of Labour coming into office. And let's have it. Yes. The whips can't get them in the lobbies, but they can get them to chair at the right time. Yeah. The fact is, his own MPs are saying this government is, and I quote, incoherent and shambolic. That's Liverpool Wavertree that said that. I could go on and on. But the fact is, it's been mistake after mistake after mistake. There is no plan to get people into work. There is no plan to cut the welfare budget. There is no strategy. There is just a series of humiliating U-turns like winter fuel, like grooming gangs. Mr. Speaker, what's really shocking is that every other party in this House voted for even more welfare spending yesterday. Yes, those MPs behind him and the Lib Dems and Reform. The Conservative Party believes that this country needs to live within its means. We know what we believe, Mr. Speaker, but this is a Prime Minister who has U-turned on everything he's done in office, including his own speeches, because he doesn't know what he believes. With left-wing Labour MPs now running the government, isn't it working people who will now...
Left wing? Left wing?
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Left wing? I don't think so, Kemi. I don't think so. You can count on one hand the amount of actual socialists there. Well, they pretty much already had the whip removed anyway. You can still count a few, Diane Abbott, Dickie Bergen, but as for the majority, oh no, 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 the pure neoliberal Thatcherite, the very same as you.
Pay the price.
Mr. Speaker, this is why she always cheers me up. She talks about living within their means, having left a £22 billion black hole. Mr. Speaker, she talks about the first year. I'm really proud of our first year in government. We promised, Mr. Speaker, 2 million extra NHS appointments.
Yeah, here first, people, well, unless you watched this earlier, he's very proud of a minus 54 favourability rating, the lowest ever by any Prime Minister after 1 year in office, worse than Thatcher, worse than Cameron, worse than Sunak.
We've delivered 4 million. A promise made and a promise delivered. We promised the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation.
Got to stop the deliver thing.
Within the first 100 days. Promise made, promise delivered. We promised free breakfast clubs. That's a promise made and a promise delivered. Banning bonuses for water bosses who pollute our rivers. That's the mess they left. A promise made and a promise delivered. Creating GB Energy. A promise made and a promise delivered. The largest increase in defence spending since the last Labour government. A promise made and a promise delivered.
This is torture. This is torture. This is torture. But former contender Postman Pat is not real. He's not in the room. He does not hide in the cupboard, and he cannot hurt me. Yeah. The therapist is right.
And putting more money in the pockets of working people, particularly the 3 million who are the lowest paid through the national minimum wage.
Finished?
A promise made and a promise delivered. We're only getting started, and the Chancellor's led on all these issues, and we're grateful to her for it.
Sit the fuck down.
Natasha Iron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, unlike the members opposite, this government has not dragged its feet in banning zombie knives, ninja-style swords, and its effort to tackle knife crime. And in Croydon, where youth violence has cast a devastating shadow across our communities, our local police is running a surrender scheme this month to get these dangerous weapons off our streets. So will the Prime Minister join me in commending the tireless work of Croydon's police officers? And will he outline what his government is doing to ensure the Met Police has the resources it needs both to protect neighbourhood policing and to face the unique challenges that they face?
Oh, yes, it's probably that kneecap's fault and the Bob Villan. Yeah, they're the ones who are driving up the night. They're boo, bad things, bad people. Return the sausages.
Prime Minister.
Well, she's right to raise the importance of banning these despicable weapons, and I know how much she cares about this issue. The ban on zombie knives and machetes came into effect last year, and the ban on ninja swords will come into effect this August.
Yeah, we can't see Reeves at the moment. Just trying to keep an eye on the emotionometer.
The Crime and Policing Bill will increase penalties for illegal sales and give the police new powers to seize knives. Mr. Speaker,
you mean they can't do that already? Well, no, they can't do that already.
Say this: what did the party opposite do when we put that bill before the House to take these measures? They voted against it. And knife crime went up, soared on their watch, and they've clearly learned absolutely nothing.
Sir Ed David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the government was asking this House to vote for a law that would mean someone with a condition like Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis would qualify for a personal independence payment today, but someone diagnosed with the same condition with very same symptoms in a few months' time would not. We all know that the cost of welfare needs to come down, but that was not a fair way to do it. Until he...
sorry to just interrupt the question. Couple of queries in the chat. Doc, no, I don't think Rachel Reeves had actually left, just the camera angle in that particular shot. She wasn't in it, so it was one of these sort of sideways shots, not the face-on shot, or establishing shots, if you prefer, that we had earlier on.
Lost control yesterday, the Prime Minister was arguing for that approach. Has he changed his mind on this or not?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Stephen Timms review will take place. It's a very important review to look into this issue. But what we did do last...
Hey, there's Lisa Nundy, who's an absolute walloper as well.
...night was end mandatory reassessments for those with severe disabilities.
Reeves now on the left.
I thought that he and his party cared about things like that. It's the right thing to do, and they voted, Mr. Speaker, against it. We rebalanced universal credit, long overdue. I think he believes that. But what did he do last night? He voted against.
Oh, God. All right. Ian Duncan Smith, the creator of universal credit, it was widely condemned as a shambles when it came out. It was supposed to replace tax credits, what used to be known as work or employment seekers allowance, and other welfare benefits as well. And the whole thing has been sort of cursed from the very beginning. That's one point that Starmer's missing. It has been in place for some time now. But any time yesterday's vote is going to come up, I think all we're going to hear is Stephen Timms, we think it was good, our bill was great, we're infallible. Even, you know, they speak in that tone, a very hubris tone. But then during the actual vote itself, they end up making several concessions, you know, so that doesn't marry up either, does it, Keith? But that's going to be his method of deflection, I think, for the foreseeable future. Just try and say how good the bill was, and then Stephen Timms.
Against it. We set out a pathway to reform PIP, something he argues for every week. And what did he do when he had the chance? He voted against it.
Sir Ed Davey.
Mr. Speaker, the House and his backbenchers will note that he didn't answer my question. Moreover, if he looked at our proposals for welfare reform, for cutting down the bill, he wouldn't be in the mess that he's in. But moving on, Mr. Speaker, from Hillsborough to Grenfell, Primados to Horizon, the contaminated blood scandal to nuclear test veterans, the bereaved and survivors of some of our country's most appalling scandals have come together to call for a legal duty of candour and the secondary duty needed to make it practical and effective for investigations and inquiries. Now they're frightened that the government is watering down these proposals to such an extent that they would be toothless. So after months of delay, can the Prime Minister reassure campaigners that his Hillsborough law will include a real legal duty of candour as he promised?
Prime Minister.
Yes, it will. And as he may know, I've known some of the families from Hillsborough for many years now. I met them over a decade ago.
There were 97 victims of that day in Hillsborough. Anyone who's, well, even if you're listening from another country, might be familiar with it. It was during a football match in the 1980s when 97 Liverpool fans died because of an overcrowding. And it's more or less unanimously agreed at this point that it was the police who were to blame for the situations, the circumstances that led to that. There's been a cover-up. The families of those 97 people, 97 victims, have been looking for justice for some time now, as I said, since the 1980s. Whatever Starmer says here, I hope he has actually, I say this knowing him by reputation, of course, but I hope he really does have the balls to get behind this. He mentioned he's met with families before, but as has been brought up with Palestine Action, which I'm going to get onto later. Similar protests in the past. He has defended both legally and on principle. So he just goes which way the wind's blowing, doesn't he? Let's hope these aren't hollow words. Solidarity to all of the viewers in Liverpool as well.
And know exactly what they have been through, and the various other groups that have suffered similar injustices with similar follow-up, which is an additional injustice on top of the original injustice. And that's why we will bring forward a Hillsborough law. It's a commitment I've made. I have been talking to the families in recent weeks, personally myself, to make sure that we get this right, and it is important that we get it right, but it will have a legal duty of candour.
Kim Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Follow-on question. The Prime Minister...
Just one final point on that. I don't think you can really speak of candour when it's been so long after... If there's evidence, and it's abundantly clear who it was that should be prosecuted or should have been prosecuted, bearing in mind that some of the officers on duty that day who faced accusations of responsibility no longer with us. Again, this being on such a large scale time frame. It is an affront to justice, just how long it's taken.
Visited my constituency in 2022 and told families, and I quote, "One of my first acts will be to put the Hillsborough law on the statute book." Repeated the same promise at conference last year that the bill would be published at the anniversary in April. That didn't happen. However, the government are now planning to table a watered down version that doesn't deserve to be named Hillsborough law. After PMQs, my honourable friend, the member for Liverpool West Derby, will introduce the real Hillsborough law. So can the Prime Minister finally honour...
That's going to be Ian Byrne who's introducing the law, I believe.
...his promise and back the law in full? If not, why not?
Prime Minister.
I'm grateful to her for raising this and remember well the visit that we had. This is a really serious issue, Mr. Speaker. It is important that we get it right. I am fully committed to introducing a Hillsborough law, including a legal duty of candour.
Get it right. Okay. You find out whose effing fault it was. You go and arrest them and you interview them. And eventually, if you're satisfied that you have enough evidence to take that to court, then you charge them. And they go to court, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that you know the procedure from there, seeing as the former director of public prosecutions I heard made mention once or twice. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. I could write that down for the Prime Minister if he needed that, but that to me just sounds like more deflective and delaying rhetoric that's only going to cause more pain and frustration for the families, because they haven't had any proper closure on this for 40 years.
Damn right!
And for public servants and criminal sanctions for those that refuse to comply. It is important we get it right. I have been personally engaging with some of the families on this because, as I say, I've been involved and seen firsthand what they've been through for over 10 years. I first met them when I was a director of public prosecutions.
Yeah.
Of what order certain things would.
It's he's frozen. We can hear him, but he's not moving. 1 second.
Happen. That was about a different issue, actually. It was about including a legal duty of candour. Seen firsthand what they've been through for over 10 years. I first met them when I was a director of public prosecutions and was a consideration of what order certain things would happen. That was about a different issue, actually. It was about an issue of great concern.
Doing like a wobbly hand
right
thing.
To raise this. We will bring this forward. I just want to take the time to get it right and then put it before the House.
Stephen Flynn.
Thank you, Mr.
Hang on, what's going on here? Okay, so on YouTube Studio I can see his left hand. Apparently he's making some sort of gesture, which I won't make any sort of comparison to. But on my broadcasting software it's frozen. Right, I'm going to have to just close and reopen this 1 second. Where may I? Just note the time stamp. That's fine. I guarantee you I'm not doing that on purpose. Have you ever seen clips of, like, you know, funny moments from game shows and things like that? There was one, it'd be quite old, I guess, maybe 90s, 80s. Catchphrase, and this picture gets slowly revealed. You've got to say what catchphrase the picture is describing, and on one such occasion the sort of game show mascot was doing a similar gesture. Wearing a top hat, I think I remember from the clip as well. But anyway, lest we get carried away, I will try and remedy this 1 second. That's very interesting. I have
now come to Prime Minister.
Stop the clip, but it still won't go away. I'm going to have to just delete it and quickly re-upload it. No, it won't stop. Okay. My laptop's officially possessed now. It's not frozen. No, I've literally just deleted the PMQs from my sources in the broadcast software, but the picture still remains on the screen. So I'm just going to do a quick close and reboot of the broadcast software, if you'll excuse me for 1 quick moment, and then I'll be right back with you. Philip, get them chimpanzees in here. No. No.
We apologise for the interruption of this broadcast while Lefty goes off on a tangent. He's been given a cup of tea and will be back with you shortly.
As you can see, we're experiencing a minor technical difficulty here on my left eye. Our team of expertly trained technicians are working busily to restore the stream. In the meantime, please make sure that you've hit the thumbs up button harder than you'd like to hit Keir Starmer in the Ghoulies, and left a comment down below. Thank you.
Alright, we're back. I think we're back. Okay, sorry about the delay there, but we're up and running again. We'll go from here. I think I've got it in the right spot. But it's Idiosyncrasy, thank you very much for the 5 gifted memberships there. Hope you all enjoy your perks. Just change the membership total. Thanks once again.
Director of Public Prosecutions, there was a consideration of what order certain things would happen. That was about a different issue, actually. It was about an issue of great concern to them. But she's right to raise this. We will bring this forward. I just want to take the time to get it right and then put it before the House.
Stephen Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In his victory speech last year, the Prime Minister promised to end the chaos. Does he think that the public still believe him?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we've delivered more in the first year of a Labour government than they've delivered in 20 years. Let let me give him one example. We had waiting lists. We said we'd do 2 million extra appointments. We've done 4 million for the NHS in England. What a contrast, Mr. Speaker, where they've been in charge for that 20 years. Scotland's doctors now saying, in the past week, I think, and this is their quote, that the Scottish NHS is, their quote, dying before our very eyes. They should be ashamed. Their own public health minister is admitting that the...
Yeah, paused in an appropriate place there. What I'm about to say could perhaps be represented by the same grin, same expression on Stephen Flynn's face. I will remind you, like I said yesterday, the GDP per capita of Edinburgh has just surpassed that of London. It's just surpassed that of the capital of England.
SNP failure is costing lives. Scotland need new...
They're very afraid of SNP. It looks almost certain that the Labour, that is, are going to get wiped out north of the border. So this is why he perpetuates in these weekly attacks on the Scottish National Party, I should say.
Direction so it can bring waiting lists down in Scotland just like we've done in England.
David Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hemel Hempstead is a new town that was built by a Labour government after the Second World War and provided decent housing to families like mine. Yet 80 years on, the #1 issue in my casework is a shortage of housing. I therefore welcome this government's commitment to build thousands of new homes. In my constituency, we're looking at a Hemel Gardens community scheme that could provide 11,000 of them. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that this development needs to be a mix of genuinely affordable houses to buy, council houses to rent, and be accompanied by the right health, education and road infrastructure?
Minister.
Or just all council and social housing, because there's so many people who really need that at the moment, and there are enough empty properties as it is.
Well, I totally agree with him, and it's projects like this that are essential to building the 1.5...
sorry to interrupt again. Just very quickly, Davinia, thanks for celebrating 12 months of membership. Really, genuinely, thank you very much for sticking it out with the channel here on My Left Eye. Really appreciate that. Solidarity.
million homes that we need, whilst at the same time creating vibrant and strong communities. Mr. Speaker, in keeping with the Attlee legacy, we're supporting 47 locally led garden communities to deliver tens of thousands more homes, and of course delivering the biggest boost to social and affordable houses in a generation.
Mr. McCleary.
Postman Twat would be absolutely walking it tonight if he was still a contender, wouldn't he?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Monday afternoon, this
Still
week, a
1-0.
4-year-old girl was seriously injured after being hit by a car on Lewis Road, just off the A259 in Newhaven, in my constituency. I can report to the House that she's recovering well in hospital. Residents in Newhaven, Seaford and nearby Sussex coastal towns have been warning about how unsafe these roads are. Indeed, the County Council submitted a fully costed plan for safety improvements on the A259 to government, but funding remains blocked. So I'm asking, or appealing to the Prime Minister directly, will he personally intervene to unblock the funding needed to make the A259 and surrounding roads safer, to ensure there is never a repeat of an incident like this?
Prime Minister.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear of the incident that he quotes, and my sympathies with the family, and I think I would send the best wishes of the whole House to the family and to the little girl. He speaks about this A259. I do hear a lot about this road because it runs through the constituency of my honourable friend for Brighton, Kemp Down and Peacehaven. And I know it needs addressing, and I know how strongly they've both been raising this and campaigning on it. A decision is going to be set out shortly. I think he has met the Roads Minister, but I'll make sure that he's kept fully updated of developments.
Olivia Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am proud to represent thousands of people working in the defence sector. Ordinary people doing extraordinary jobs to keep our country safe.
From whom? Safe from whom? Have we recently been threatened with invasion or something, or are we just using this to go and appropriate natural resources from other countries, or perhaps help out other countries who are committing international war crimes. I don't think that's anything to be particularly proud of, really. And they use the word defence to describe it. If it's defence, then why is it all over the world?
And I was delighted that the Defence Secretary recently joined me in my constituency to mark this government's £15 billion investment in the atomic weapons establishment. Yeah. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that our commitment to defence sector investment is vital not just for our national security, but for...
Oh, you get as much money as you like. Yeah, that's... Keith is going to respond, yep, fine. You're going to hear in his response, I predict... a series of increasing to this amount by this year, so on and so forth, GDP as well. Fine, you're not going to get any deflection on this one. You're not going to be hearing difficult choices on this one, or, you know, sorry, I've asked Weepy Rachel here, and there's just not enough in the coffers for war, I'm afraid. We've got a population of citizens to look after, thank you very much. Why should we go all the way across the world meddling in other affairs and pillaging natural resources?
jobs, opportunity and growth in constituencies like Reading West and Mid-Berkshire?
Prime Minister. Well, I pay tribute to her, and she's a fantastic advocate for her constituents. She's right to highlight the important work by the defence sector in her constituency and, of course, right across the United Kingdom. We are investing £15 billion in our sovereign nuclear warhead programme. That will support, Mr Speaker, nearly 10,000 jobs, including many in her constituency. And that's the defence dividend in action, a historic boost to defence spending, represented and reflected in good, well-paid jobs across the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Given that the government appears to be in listening mode, will the Prime Minister agree to scrap other measures that are pushing more people into poverty, such as the cruel two-child benefit cap and the harsh and totally unacceptable cuts to universal credit for ill and disabled people, which remain in yesterday's dog's breakfast of a bill?
Prime Minister. Well, Mr Speaker, I don't want to be ungenerous, but I don't think I'm going to be listening.
Isn't it supposed to be dog's dinner? Isn't that the expression?
Listening to him or his party. They were the ones that put an £80 billion unfunded tax commitment before the electorate of the last election. And they're the ones that talk about change and clean power, but every single time there's an infrastructure project or there's any change that's needed, they block it, including in their own constituencies.
Joe White.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Whilst we all revere the football stars of the past, many are struggling with welfare issues, including organised financial fraud and head injuries linked to the onset of dementia. May I give the Prime Minister this letter on player welfare from 303 former players? Local champions like John Stiles and international superstars including Kevin Keegan and Graham Souness have signed it. Would he agree to request to meet a group of ex-players as cited in the recent letter to the Prime Minister from one of his heroes, Michael Thomas, who of course shone when he played for Arsenal and Liverpool?
Prime Minister.
Yeah, I think Alan Shearer once did a documentary about this as well. What this is referring to is there's in fact a way above average number of former professional footballers who suffer from dementia, and it's thought that that's on account of practising heading a football repeatedly and obviously at great length throughout their careers. So there are campaigns going on at the moment, and other footballers, former footballers, will mention the dementia is an absolutely terrible disease. Just really hope that people suffering from it aren't going to be the next group that get thrown under the bus, just like other disabled people have had done to them this week.
I'd just start by congratulating Dawn Assel on her recent and richly deserved MBE for her work on behalf of former players. I do remember Michael Thomas very well putting that goal in injury time, Mr. Speaker, in 1989 to take the lead. It was a fantastic victory. I have had the pleasure of meeting him and actually discussing with him the very campaign that she raises. I'll certainly meet him again, because athletes have brought us so much joy. We should have proper support from their sporting bodies on health and welfare, and we will ensure that they do.
Steph Aquarell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I refer members to my role as a serving county councillor. Mr. Speaker, July is Good Care Month, and Jane Austen told us the best place for convalescence by the sea is Cromer in my constituency. However, thanks to Norfolk's Conservative County Council, Cromer risks losing its convalescence facility forever. Reablement centres like Benjamin Court are exactly what the NHS needs, and yet the Tories are shutting it down. Will the Prime Minister ensure that the relevant Health Minister meets with me and concerned local campaigners to discuss what can be done to save Benjamin Court?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank him for raising this important issue, and decisions around services are matters for the Integrated Care Board, and that means they're taken locally, obviously. But I'm glad that he's raised this, because we agree that the sector does need reform, and unlike the party opposite, we're investing in the sector £4 billion of additional funding alongside an independent commission into adult social care to improve the quality of care across the United Kingdom, including for his constituents.
Martin Rhodes.
Mr. Speaker, figures from the British Transport Police show a staggering 47% rise in violence and serious public order offences against rail staff between 2021 and 2024. This epidemic of violence was allowed to escalate under the previous Conservative government, which failed to act while frontline workers were increasingly put at risk. Does the Prime Minister agree that our transport workers deserve to do their jobs without fear, and will he reaffirm this Labour government's commitment to ensuring that train operating companies are held fully accountable for protecting those who keep our railways safe and moving?
Prime Minister.
There are shocking statistics, and rail staff work incredibly hard to keep...
Nationalise it, tax the rich, easy, problem solved. No need to have any back and forth about it. I think that's pretty clear cut. Vicky Clee, welcome to the chat. Andy Carter as well. Great to see you joining us also. Shut up, Wesley. Yeah, got a bit of competition tonight from that Gaza Doctors documentary on Channel 4, which started at the same time as the stream. No spoilers though, please. I'm going to watch a bit of that later on as well. But thank you for joining us nonetheless.
Our country running and keep people safe, and the abuse and assault on staff is utterly unacceptable, and we're taking measures to make sure they are safer. We want to encourage, Mr. Speaker, the use of body-worn cameras, which have been proven to reduce violence against staff by up to 47%. And may I take this opportunity to thank our outstanding British Transport Police for everything that they do to support staff and passengers.
Bernadette Ross.
This time a year ago, farmers and many others across the country were about to go to the polls, perhaps about to vote Labour for the first time, because they took at the Prime Minister's own word that he and his party would never leave farmers in the background again.
Did I miss something? We're 4 years away from a general election, and there isn't a local election due for some time.
Within weeks, however, that trust had been completely shattered by the family farm tax. Farmers know how devastating that tax will be. The industry know how devastating it will be. We on these benches know how devastating it will be, and more of his own backbenchers do too. So following the U-turn on the winter fuel payments, and following the U-turn on grooming gangs, and following the many U-turns on welfare payments yesterday, will the Prime Minister now tell farmers up and down the country when it will be their turn for a U-turn and that he will scrap the family farm tax?
So all that led to was, please can we people with millions of pounds worth of assets not pay a little bit more tax? Straight back to that one. What's going to be next? The Chagos Islands, which hasn't come up yet so far, fortunately. Don't want to jinx that. Andy Carter, thanks for the gifted membership. Solidari-Tea for that one, brother. Takes us up to 113. Great stuff. Thanks again.
so a year ago, the country was lining up to boot them out of office. And long may they remain there.
Reeves has gone, by the way. She's completely gone at this point. We're in their territory. Whatever's going on, whether it was something to do with Hoyle or whether she's just found out she's getting sacked, I can't say I've very much sympathy. Whatever the situation, really, for the suffering that she's imposed on literally of hundreds of thousands of people in just a year. Yeah, I've got sympathy for those people.
Mr. Speaker, we put in place the most significant funding for farmers in the budget. We've got a roadmap for work for farmers that we're working on, and of course where they fail to actually spend the money, we're spending it with farmers.
Charlotte Littles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The nuclear industry provides over 29,000 jobs across the Northwest, including thousands in Birchwood Park in my constituency, which is a globally leading centre of nuclear innovation. I welcome the government's new modern industrial strategy, which will give businesses the confidence to invest after years of economic chaos under the last government. Can the PM outline how the industrial strategy will support the growth of the nuclear sector, which is vital for our energy security and creating...
What? No, it's not. Oh, how many times do I have to say it? How many times do I have to point out? It takes decades for a nuclear facility to come online. The problem is now, the problem of the climate crisis is now, the problem of energy companies ripping people off left, right and centre is now. Those proposals, those plans aren't going to do anything about what's happening right now. You need to invest in wind and tidal in the UK, and quick at it.
Thousands more high-paid, high-skilled and unionised jobs.
Prime Minister.
She's a champion of nuclear, and I know how important it is to thousands of her constituents. Mr. Speaker, we are securing homegrown energy and driving bills down by unleashing a golden age of nuclear. And that includes Sizewell C, which we announced just 2 or 3 weeks ago, small modular reactors, and that means jobs, investment and opportunities across the country, including in her constituency.
Victoria Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rush changes to the welfare bill not only left Parliament with whiplash, but more importantly, have left many vulnerable people living in limbo, like Chris or Emma in my constituency who were set to lose PIP that they rely on for work. And Chris has already lost a vital carer through all of this uncertainty. It is not right that in a society, vulnerable people have to be worried about what the government will do next. Does the Prime Minister understand that this has eroded trust at a time when we need it most?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think what would be better for building trust is an accurate description of what we're doing. The Stephen Timms inquiry review is really important to look at this really important issue, but we have to get on and reform. We have a broken system that is not working for those who are using the system. It's not working for the taxpayer. It's not working for the economy. We have to get on and reform it. And we'll do it in the way we set out yesterday.
Peter Dowd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I pay tribute to veterans of the Royal Naval Association Crosby branch who are in the gallery today. Mr. Speaker, Gabe Santa, a 15-year-old, fell to his death from a multi-storey car park in Liverpool in 2020. He is one of the many dying in such tragic circumstances, including in my constituency. My multi-storey car park safety bill seeks to prevent such deaths. Will the government look carefully at its contents as part of a national suicide prevention strategy?
Minister.
The answer is yes, we will look at the content of it, and I'm grateful to him for raising it. I think across the House we've all got tragic experience of suicide, and our thoughts are with Gabe's family and with his friends. We will conduct a call for evidence on Part K of the building regulations about minimum guarding heights, so that necessary protections are in place to prevent future tragedies. We will also look at the contents of the bill.
Dame Karen Bradley.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, people across the Staffordshire Moorlands are extremely concerned by the number of solar farms and battery storage facilities that are having applications granted. Can you please, Prime Minister, give them some reassurance that you will change the law and that we will see good agricultural land saved for producing food as it rightly should be?
Sit down and piss off, you NIMBY.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's right that we do both and do support agriculture, but she says people across the country
Oh, what a giveaway.
About,
you hear
so
that?
they
You
are
hear
also
that,
concerned about their
That's
bills
what I'm on
coming
about.
down. They went up under the last government. The only way to get them down is on renewables, and that's what we're doing.
Final question. Final question.
Sorry, I just want to hear his response again.
Of the bill.
Dame Karen Bradley.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, people across the Staffordshire Moorlands are extremely concerned by the number of solar farms and battery storage facilities that are having applications granted. Can you please, Prime Minister, give...
Oh, isn't it? It's so ghastly and unsightly, isn't it? Can't we do... Well, I'll tell you, you know, when the very worst parts of climate change start to affect this country as it lurches further north unstoppably, as it is doing so at this point, then you'll have a bit more of an eyesore on your hands there.
Give them some reassurance that you will change the law and that we will see good agricultural land saved for producing food as it rightly should be.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's right that we do both and do support agriculture, but she says people...
It's not that... It's not a binary choice. It's not either or. You can grow food and still have solar. Like I said, I do lean further towards wind and tidal, which we have in abundance in this temperate zone. Don't tell me that the tides in the North Sea are ever going to stop, and so on and so forth. The same goes, you know, for battery storage. It's just complete detachment from reality, from the situation, and these not in my backyard bastards. Well, they've got terminal foot and mouth disease, as far as I'm concerned, because all it really says is, well, what about me? And they think that they can live this, whatever, idyllic country lifestyle, this Enid Blyton-esque utopia that they somehow envisage. It's a deluded fantasy, and just such a selfish attitude. I really can't believe it. I really can't.
People across the country are concerned about solar. They are also concerned about their bills coming down. They went up under the last government. The only way to get them down is on renewables, and that's what we're doing.
God, he actually... A heart attack. He actually said something sensible about renewable energy and getting people's bills down. Blimey.
Final question, Jessica Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Last chance to dance, contenders.
This morning in Westminster Hall, Centenary Action presented sashes handmade by a team of wonderful women working out of Newport's remake to every one of our 264 women MPs to mark today's 97th anniversary of the Equal Franchise Act. Will the Prime Minister join me in welcoming this initiative, which celebrates the contribution women make in public life? And although we now have a record number of women MPs, does he agree we must ensure we continue to break down barriers for women on our way to achieving the mission of a gender-equal parliament?
Can I, through her, thank the women in her constituency for their hard work on this initiative, and having 264 women MPs is a really significant progress in this House. I'm incredibly proud that at the last election we saw 100 new female Labour MPs elected, meaning the number of female MPs in the Labour Party is now...
Seems to have kicked off a conversation about physics in the chat. What's going on there, people?
At a record high, and on the 97th anniversary of the Equal Franchise Act, it should be a source of great pride to the House that we have a record number of female members.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Let the front bench change over.
It's done. They're out of there. That was that. It's a draw. It's security 1, deal 1. That's the third draw in a row, but a score draw this time. What do you think about that, people? Yeah, general theory of relativity. That's we're talking about in the chat. Graham, is light, well, is it a particle or a wave? It depends if you're looking at it or not, and I'm not even kidding. And if you can figure that one out, then you'll get a Nobel Prize. Not that, I mean, for what credulity they have these days. But a Nobel Physics Prize, I think, is still has merits. So, energy, you started talking about energy. I get what happened there. Yes. Mass multiplied by the speed of light squared. Very simple, isn't it? So yes, we got there. That was that. Well, I guess my feelings about this Rachel Reeves drama remain the same as they did before PMQs. It was more or less throughout, wasn't it? And it seems funny that just a stream or two ago, the poll was whether she'd, well, how long she'd last in the job, basically. It was a resounding no that she wouldn't be Chancellor at the next general election, and a significant number of you also thinking she'd be out within the next 12 months. And then, lo and behold, look what happens. But the only thing I can think of is perhaps if she was told that she was going to be sacked. They've said it's a personal matter, but they've not said what it is. I mean, you've got to be reasonably honest. It could be a bereavement of some sort, or but they're putting it down to, officially, they're putting it down to an altercation with Lindsay Hoyle, who seems somewhat animated in this session compared to normal. He interjected a few times. I do often point out how placid and passive he normally is, you know, in sorting out this dinosaur rabble, all the chuntering and cheering and everything. It's so outdated. Really has got to go. So is that a coincidence, the fact that he was so involved this week, and that seems to be the official explanation for Reeves's mood? On the topics raised overall, obviously he was very dismissive about the vote yesterday. I guess I more or less added my thoughts on most of the topics as we went along, but do always want to know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments as well if you're watching back later on. That was PMQs. Just get rid of this junk. Right, and I will move on. We'll move on, people. Because that's not all that was happening in Parliament today. There was the vote on whether Palestine Action would be prescribed as a terrorist organisation. Now, one thing that's very important to remember before I play a few clips, that wasn't the only thing in the legislation on the agenda. There were two other groups who were set to be prescribed, and in fact I believe Pal Action were the last to be added out of the three. I'll get on to that a bit more later, but you just need to bear that in mind. That wasn't an exclusive vote where Palestine Action are concerned. First of all, we're going to go to the member for Coventry South, Zara Sultana, who took part in a protest both before and after the session. We're going to hear a bit from her just while I'm on this segment. So let's hear what the wonderful Zara had to say.
prescription goes through, people could face 14 years for simply being here in support of Palestine action. I could go to jail, everyone here could go to jail for wearing a badge, sharing a post, or calling for proscription. It's about fear. It's about silencing this beautiful, international, diverse movement that we have built, that has been marching month after month in our millions. We are all Palestinian, in our hundreds, in our millions. And let me be clear, we are not going anywhere. We are going to use every tool we have in Parliament, in the courts, in the streets, in our workplaces to fight back. And we need to remember that this order can still be withdrawn. This government is known for making U-turns, so we need to ramp up the pressure. The courts haven't ruled on it yet, and the legal challenge is still live. This government ruling it through, it is a page out of the Trump playbook. It is authoritarian, plain and simple. And we have to ask every single MP, which side were you on? I'm going to quickly name every single MP that voted against this, because I think you should know who they are.
I'm going to get on to those MPs. By the way, it was a very significant vote for the prescription, almost 400 to some 26 against. I'll take a look at that. But Zara then went into Parliament for the debate and the vote, so we're going to see some of that first before we get on to who voted which way. Obviously Zara voted against it, spoiler alert.
21 years ago, a human rights barrister stood in court and defended an activist who broke into RAF Fairford trying to disable a bomber to prevent war crimes in Iraq. That case became a landmark in lawful, non-violent direct action against an illegal war. That barrister is now our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, KC. He argued that it was not terrorism but conscience. Fast forward to 20th of June 2025. Two Palestine action activists enter RAF Bryce Norton and sprayed red paint, not fire, on aircraft linked to surveillance flights over Gaza. Instead of prosecuting them for criminal damage, which is what normally is done, the Home Secretary is using the Terrorism Act to prescribe them as a terrorist group. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is an unprecedented and dangerous overreach of the state. Never before in Britain has it been a crime to simply support a group. This order lumps a non-violent network of students, nurses, teachers, firefighters and peace campaigners, ordinary people, my constituents and yours, with neo-Nazi militias and mass casualty cults. Palestine Action's real crime, we have to be clear, is shutting down Elbit system sites that arm the Israeli military. Its true offence is being audacious enough to expose the blood-soaked ties between this government and the genocidal Israeli apartheid state and its war machine. So let us be clear, to equate a spray can of paint with a suicide bomb isn't just absurd, it is grotesque. It is a deliberate distortion of the law to chill dissent, criminalise solidarity and suppress the truth. Amnesty International, Liberty, over 266 senior lawyers, UN special rapporteurs have all opposed these draconian measures. Even at this late stage, the order should be withdrawn. Under this order, anyone expressing moral support for a proscribed group could face 14 years in prison. That includes wearing a badge, wearing a t-shirt, sharing a post or calling for proscription, and journalists have no exemption too. There is no legal protection for reporting favourably, even factually, about Palestine action, and by this weekend millions of people, including many of our constituents, could be placed under these sweeping restrictions. And let us not forget what is actually happening in Gaza, where the real crimes are being ignored. Hospitals bombed, children starved, tens of thousands of people killed. Palestinian children now suffer more amputations per capita than anywhere else on earth. Israel on trial for genocide at the ICJ. Israeli Prime Minister with an ICC arrest warrant, and the government's response to criminalise solidarity, to continue exporting lethal F-35 jets that are decimating Gaza. And we have to also understand the history of this country and what built our democracy, the tradition of civil disobedience, from the suffragettes without whom I wouldn't have the vote, let alone the privilege of being here as an MP. Even those who oppose Palestine Action's tactics must recognise the vast gulf between criminal damage and terrorism. If this order passes, what's next? Climate protesters, striking workers, feminists in the street? Already we've seen a wider crackdown on our civil liberties. Musicians censored, journalists arrested, demonstrating, including MPs sitting here harassed. And now this government wants to use anti-terror laws to make peaceful protest itself a crime. If our democratic institutions functioned as they should, none of this would be necessary. So to conclude, if this prescription passes, as it will, we have to understand that no campaign will be safe tomorrow. We also have to recognise that this will go down as a dark day in our country's history and one that will be remembered. People will ask, which side were you on? And I stand with the millions of people that oppose genocide because I am one of them. I oppose the blood-soaked hands of this government trying to silence us. So I say this loudly and proudly on Wednesday the 2nd of July, 2025, we are all Palestine. Order!
No, we're not. Oh, yes. She came in with it. She said, we are all Palestine Action. Let's just hear that last part again. And you could hear that was the deputy, one of the deputy speakers, not Lindsay Hoyle, but trying to interrupt.
1 year ago.
Anticipating what she might say.
Side were you on? And I stand with the millions of people that oppose genocide because I am one of them. I oppose the blood-soaked hands of this government trying to silence us. So I say this loudly and proudly on Wednesday the 2nd of July, 2025, we are all Palestine. Order!
No, we're not. I think she started shouting order even before she finished saying that. And that was very bold and very brave. And well said there, very well said. Zara, you can't fault that one bit, one iota. That was 100% fact. Where are civil rights going? They're going out of the window, people. And it's happened against climate protesters, such as myself, as well before. That's one other reason why I stand in solidarity with Palestine Action. Yeah, I said it. I've also said Zara, we're going to come back to Zara Sultana in a moment. Let's hear from a couple of other speakers first. Up next, this is Clive Lewis.
But can we as a House accept there are those of us here today who have a different take on today's prescription for Palestine Action? We don't have to agree with the behaviour or actions of Palestine Action to make the case here today that this prescription is wrong. I'd also like to ask the honourable members to acknowledge the fact that many of us here today who take a different view on this issue are a part of this democracy just as much of those who agree with the prescription. It's just that our take on the delicacy of our democracy and what this prescription does and how it undermines our democracy, in our opinion, happen to differ from other people. I know members on the opposite benches have repeatedly said that when it comes to ULEZ cameras and low emission zone cameras, they've actually said that they understand and empathise with those constituents who have smashed and vandalised them. So direct action is something it's not just of the left, it's something that everyone in our democracy can partake in. So this is a judgment call on how we best protect our democracy, and an acknowledgement that not all threats are external or violent. Some threats are based on the decisions that we here ourselves take in this place. Sometimes we may take decisions which fundamentally undermine our own democracy. Now, I have no doubt that some of us will be called terrorist sympathisers by some who disagree with our position, but that would be wrong. When you look around the world and watch as democracy and the rule of law is being systematically smashed, corporations, the wealthy, have increasing power and wealth to influence our democracy. Look over at the Atlantic, at the United States. Our democracies are delicate. Our democracies are precious. And the decisions that we take here determine whether those democracies will survive as we go into the future. I look around the world. I look around this country. I look at the party, the authoritarian right party that is 10 points ahead in the polls. And I worry about the future of our democracy. That means that this government, our government, have to make decisions that take that into account. That take into account that we may not be in government one day. It may be the authoritarian right. And they will take this further and faster and deeper than we ever have. So we should be putting in fire guards now, protecting our democracy. This doesn't do that. And I will conclude by saying, Madam Deputy Speaker, I understand what terrorism is. I was in London on the 7th of July in 2007, and I watched my community, this city, attacked by real terrorists. And at that point, rightly or wrongly, I decided I was going to Afghanistan to fight the terrorists. And I went because I love this country and I love our democracy and I want to see it protected. I think today's prescription order against Palestine action undermines that. And I wish my government wouldn't do it. Thank you very much.
Damn right!
Very well said. Clive Lewis there. Who have we got next? Yeah, I've got two clips from Corbyn. This is where we get on to what I mentioned earlier. The fact that it wasn't just Pal Action named in the legislation. There were two other far-right, essentially neo-Nazi groups in the legislation as well. Yeah, go figure. So, your vote, whichever way it went, counted for all three, of course, in the House. One of the other two groups, the far-right groups, just let me see if I can remember this one. It was called something like the Maniac, I think it was Maniacs Murder Group or something. Maniac Murderers or something like that. So they lump in Palestine Action in with these complete and other nuts houses, and someone who needs no introduction apart from mention that he is the member for Islington North pointed this out and asked if there were any avenues or routes into separating them to assist people in their decision, because obviously if you'd want to get rid of the Maniacs Chainsaw Fuck-All Massacre Group, whatever they're called, but not Palestine Action, then you're in quite a spot. And that has been done deliberately. That has been done deliberately by the government, and it's pure chicanery as far as I'm concerned. So let's hear the question, and you get the response from the Speaker, who only goes on to point out that protocol, which is out of his hands, but something that's deliberately been done by Starmer and Yvette Cooper.
Jeremy Corbyn. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Following the point of order you've just heard.
I can hear it, but I can't see it.
Jeremy Corbyn. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Following the point of order.
That's a bit odd. Just give me one moment, people. Just put that one in the software again.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Why doesn't want to play this one?
Jeremy Corbyn. Thank you.
I can't see it. I don't know if... No, you can't see it either. It's odd. The audio's coming through, but not the video on that one. Regardless, all the Speaker, or Deputy Speaker in this case, pointed out was that he can't change or split up anything that's in the actual legislation, so there isn't any legitimate way of separating the groups and voting on them individually. And they call that democracy, by the way, people. So let's move on. I've got another clip from Corbyn.
As the debate opened today, I intervened on the Minister, and I'm grateful to him for giving way. I just need an explanation, and I hope we'll get one, as to why groups are always put together in these orders and not dealt with separately and individually, because clearly there are different orders of concern here. Yeah. And I want solely to speak about the issue.
Right, people. It's got a slight problem here. Be right back.
As the debate opened today, I intervened on the Minister, and I'm grateful to him for giving way. I just need an explanation, and I hope we'll get one, as to why groups are always put together in these orders and not dealt with separately and individually, because clearly there are different orders of concern here. Yeah. And I want solely to speak about the issue surrounding Palestine action. We live in a democratic society, and we have to also understand where our rights have come from. The member who's just spoken from High Peak represents the place where, in 1932, the mass trespass took place, led by Benny Rothman, a Jewish activist in the Communist Party at that time, who was demanding rights of access to the countryside.
Yeah, that was on Kinder Scouts, and it was basically all of the, obviously the upper class had all of this land, and there were restrictions on where the common folk could and couldn't walk, so there was a mass land trespass on Kinder Scout, and people still commemorate that these days. In fact, on one of the occasions that I've met Corbyn here in Manchester, I remember that being raised as well as part of the speech.
He was roundly condemned by all of the mass media and the government of the day. He was put on trial, he was put in prison, and he was eventually released from prison after mass protests in his support. Without Benny Rothman and those others, that access to the countryside simply would not have happened at that time. And you look at all the other people that over decades of our history have stood up for free speech and for democracy, going back to the Chartists, going back to the suffragettes, those that campaigned to end apartheid in South Africa. And interestingly, during all of the anti-apartheid years, the British government, whilst it did condemn the ANC and did indeed believe for a while that Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, never banned the ANC in Britain, because the advice they got was it was important that there be a place that people could express that voice of hope of the end of apartheid. The women that went to Greenham Common to protest about the deployment of nuclear weapons there were also never labelled as terrorists. Yes, they were charged under criminal trespass, as indeed many, many others have been, and indeed those that undertake direct action are very well aware of the risks they take. But it crosses an enormous threshold to suddenly announce that Palestine Action, speaking out against the horrors of what is happening in Gaza, where hundreds are mown down every day by the Israeli Defence Force simply for queuing for food when they're desperately hungry and their children are starving. Surely we should be looking at the issue that Palestine Action are concerned about, and the supply of weapons from this country to Israel, which has made all this possible. As the debate opened today, I intervened on the Minister, and I'm grateful to
Very well said. Jeremy, I just want to go into that issue that he excuse me, that he mentioned at the end of that great statement there about UK complicity. Further revelations have come to light. Check this out. So as well as the spy planes, but we've been secretly allowing Israeli military planes involved in the bombing of Gaza to land in Britain, in this country. That'll be en route to and from America via Europe. Is everything okay in the chat there? I hope everybody's being cordial, people. We don't all agree 100% on the same issues, but let's please be respectful in any debate. So yeah, that applies to everybody. Thank you very much. Remember, we're all good comrades here. Sorry, it's very dry here this evening. But isn't this unbelievable? It's just another layer of shame on the country that these planes are stopping over here. And that's what these groups are protesting against. Let's get on to the actual vote now. As I said, some 370 odd voted for, and just 26 voted against, which I think is pretty bad going. So unless you're one of these people, then I think you really need to have a good look at your conscience. Let's see what we've got here. And then we'll just go through by party. There are a few interesting notables in certain areas that I want to go through as well. So the 26 who voted against are Ayub Khan and Bel Ribeiro Adi. For the Green Party, Sean Barry, Ellie Jones, Carla Denyer, Adrian Ramsey. That's all of the Green Party. I'll go on to proportions and stuff in just a moment. 6 of the independents voted against: Shokat Adam, Apsana Begum, Jeremy Corbyn, who we just heard from, of course, Adnan Hussein, John McDonnell, and Zara Sultana, who we also just heard from. So, just 9 of the Labour Party, just 9 members of the Labour Party voted no. Diane Abbott, Tahir Ali, Richard Bergen, Ian Byrne, Imran Hussain, Kim Johnson, Clive Lewis, Graham Morris, Nadia Whittam. 6 of the Lib Dems: Andrew George, Tom Gordon, Tessa Munt, Manuela Pertegala, Geller, Dr. Al Pinkerton, and Luke Taylor. So that's it. Nobody else. Nobody else would stand up for our civil liberties. That was it. Just 26 people out of a house of 600. So if you've been doing any maths as we've been going along, 370 plus 26 doesn't exactly make a full 650 total number of MPs. Obviously, again, like I mentioned yesterday, Sinn Féin traditionally don't vote. The speakers and deputy speakers rarely do as well. However, still, that considered, there were quite a few who didn't vote. Now, considering that this vote concerned groups being prescribed as terrorists, you'd think that Yvette Cooper might have some sort of a say in this. But no, she is amongst those with no vote recorded. In fact, there were quite a few, 31 Tories, but there are a few other mentionables. I won't read the whole list of these out. Let's just get down to Labour here, because I've already mentioned Home Secretary Yvette Cooper. Also Angela Rayner is on this list. Emily Thornberry is on this list of people who didn't vote. Wes Streeting didn't vote. David Lammy didn't vote, as you can see there. And Keir Starmer didn't vote either. And you can see there on your screens on the right, Angela Rayner and Rachel Reeves, who I just mentioned. So that was a total of 114 Labour members who didn't vote, by far and away. The most in terms of number, but I'm going to go on to percentage and proportion in just a moment. Again, like yesterday, let me know how your MP voted. If you know, you might have spotted them whilst I've been scrolling away here, or let me know if you've looked into that yourself. So they need calling out just as much as anybody who voted for it, as far as I'm concerned. And that brings us back to Zara Sultana, because I'm pretty sure that she shares that sentiment as well. Got another clip here from Zara, because this is absolutely, you know, and as she's already mentioned in previous clips, just a show of support or a call for prescribement of the group could land you in jail or in prison, I should say. And then the next thing you know, it's
He's being rendered! He's being rendered!
So let's hear some more from Zara.
Where Palestine action has been disgracefully prescribed.
This is after the vote, by the way. I should point out this is after the results been revealed.
After being lumped with neo-Nazi paramilitary groups, the Home Secretary couldn't even be bothered to turn up. Yvette Cooper, shame on you! David Lammy, shame on you! Keir Starmer, shame on you! They don't come.
Yeah, she did call out quite a few people. She read out the names of those who voted against and commended them as well. Well done, Zara. And I feel especially low and ashamed of my country this week. Because of this, of course. And speaking of calling people out, let's have a look by proportion which party voted, or parties voted which way. Not that one. Sorry, this one. That's in a second. So 69% of Labour members voted for, 29 abstained. The biggest margin voting for was the Tories, 74%. Voting for, 26% abstained. 60% of Reform voted to proscribe the group. But look at this, this is an interesting one from the Lib Dems, 85% of them abstained, you know. I also believe that anybody who had similar, perhaps conflictions about them all being lumped in together shouldn't have abstained, they should have voted against it, because that's perfectly valid. You can say that you agree with what's being proposed in part. That's where amendments and things are supposed to come into things like this, but again, this is riding roughshod over democracy and just taking people's rights away. 100% of the Green Party, as I mentioned before, voted don't prescribe, and out of the others they mostly abstained, 51%. Very poor. I think everybody, apart from the 26 people who mentioned, should maybe consider themselves on notice at the ballot box, if they weren't already. And yeah, another reminder, I said I was going to do a plug for this on every live stream this week, so if you're down in London this Saturday, I'm pretty sure that this subject will come up as well, but overall it's a general march on Starmer's turf to say no seat for genocide enablers, so that's been organised by Camden Friends of Palestine, meeting at 12 o'clock noon this Saturday, 5th of July at Mornington Crescent, NW1 2JA, that's Mornington Crescent, Northwest 1 2JA, London. I can't make that trip down there myself, but I will be in the capital in a short amount of time. Actually, surrounding Kneecap's current trial, speaking of Kneecap and Glastonbury and whatnot, that brings me on to just the latest on this hyperbolic kickback against Bob Villan, which I've already given my thoughts on the last couple of live streams at least, and I've done a video about this on Kneecap as well. But the latest is that they've been dropped from, of all things, something I'm particularly disappointed about myself, because I'll be honest, I was actually considering going down and perhaps seeing if I could get an interview or maybe at least some exclusive content or whatever, but they've been dropped from an upcoming festival here in Manchester. Let's see what's happening. They've also been removed from the bill at another festival in France. quick skim through this. So it's the Radar Festival, which was going to be at Victoria Warehouse this Saturday, but organisers, that's why I wasn't going to be able to make it to London, one of the reasons. Organisers confirmed in a statement they'd no longer appear. They were supposed to be headlining, yeah, as it mentions there. I think that's, yeah, a bit of a cowardly move, got to say. And I hope they're not going to get all Lindsay Hoyle and say, oh well, we don't want any fucking terrorist incidents at our gig, do we? So let's remove them from the bill. Please don't go there. Cave Fest is the one that's in France, in Gisors, and they said, well, they've released a statement explaining the decision to drop the band, on a German music venue as well. Pure hyperbole and all. I mean, they booked what is an outspoken left-wing political punk band. This wasn't any moment of spontaneity where you've never said anything about Palestine before, and other social political issues as well. To act as though they were completely blindsided whilst they were concentrating on Kneecap. Yeah, in terms of broadcasting it, but the reaction to it, as though they're shocked, I think just, yeah. Doesn't wash. It doesn't wash. But here's another thing, something I think has been overlooked. I've taken the original clip out of the broadcast software at the moment. I'm sure you've all seen it at least a couple of times. But what I think has been overlooked, in terms of people concentrating on the chant, is what was on the stage behind him. So he had a display which mentioned the BBC. And I might be slightly paraphrasing here, but it was something along the lines of it being a genocide, but the BBC calls it a conflict. Could that be a clue as to why there's been so much pushback, or why weren't they pulled? We know they essentially lobbied in what's the word I'm looking for? Full bias, because of the lobbies, unfortunately. But I just think that's one thing that needs to be considered as well. What was written on the backdrop, as well as, I mean, the chant, obviously. Forget about, you know, the chant. It's ludicrous. Okay, what we're going to next. Oh yes, of course. I just put the logo back up as well. But it's not all been pushed back from politicians. Well, not referring to the UK. But the Portuguese president has actually come out and shown support. Have a look at this. So he said he'd actually like Bob Villain to go to Colombia. He's said, you know, you're welcome here anytime. That's Gustavo Petro. You might remember him. He's not been in power that long. He was elected in 22. But he also officially recognised the state of Palestine, and I think I mentioned that on the channel before. So well done to him. He's a former guerrilla fighter, it mentions, and it's his nation's first left-wing head of state, which is awesome. James Holmes coming in, celebrating 5 months of standard membership. Thank you very much, James. Very good, very good. Who knows? That'd be a good gig, I think. Well done, Gustav Petro.
Damn right!
I'm just checking I've done all of the proper plugs and things. Oh, there's just another quick thing, the statement that Bobby Villain, the singer, has actually released. It says, "Silence is not an option, we will be fine. The people of Palestine are hurting. Manchester, we will be back." I hope so. Solidarity to Bob Villain from Manchester. And solidarity with all of you good members on the channel. We've had gifted memberships this evening as well, so thank you for those. Thanks to those of you who celebrated your lengthy standard memberships. James and Divinia. Everybody else, please make sure that you've hit thumbs up on the stream. Really would appreciate that as well. And it's just 99 pence if you'd like to consider supporting the channel this way. Check out the perks, hit the button if you want to know more about the benefits of joining our little community here. It's not a cult, don't worry. Broodism is not a cult. Bring the members back. Okay, it is getting quite late for a Brews at 10 live stream, people, so I'm going to ask you to stay put while I look for a raid. It might be coming up to the end of this stream, but if you want to stay up a little bit longer, let's see if there's anywhere we can raid into, perhaps somewhere in the States at this hour. I should imagine. Yeah, let's go over to this space. That is the channel that is named, quote, this space, end quote. Hinbrewism, excellent pun there. Very good. So yes, before we go over into the raid, just one final remark. Speaking of puns and homegrown comedy content, this is the latest volume of the Brews at 10, the album, volume 12.
Do you like a hot, tasty beverage with your music? Then My Left Eye has got a treat for your ears. The Brews at 10, the album. All your favourite beverage-based hits from the 1960s to now, all in one place.
Volume 12 is now available, featuring Brew You Love Me, The Contours, Copper Don't Preach, Madonna, Brew Brew Cat Chew, Alvin Stardust, Perfect Day, Brew Reed, No More I Love Brews, Annie Lennox, plus many more. Order now.
Volume 12. Thanks a lot for all of your suggestions. Keep them coming in, people. Okay, so over to this space in just a moment. That'll be all from me though on the live stream. Thank you very much for joining me on this edition of the Brews at 10 here on My Left Eye. I've been your host, Lefty. You've been fantastic. Just a reminder as well, people, keep the debate civil. In the chat here on our streams, please do try and respect one another. We're all part of the same community here, so yeah, let's just bear that in mind going forward. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, everybody. My Left Eye, be seeing you soon. Free Palestine. Power to the people.